Good morning, class 9. Today we will start chapter 3. And now I will tell you about the colonial forest law. In the year 1865, the British government passed the Indian Forest Act, which gave them the right to declare any forest land to be government land. There was no provision for the traditional rights of the tribal people. It was amended in 1878. The 1878 Act divided forests into three categories: reserved, protected, and village forest. The villagers or the tribal forest dwellers were not allowed to use any other forest except village forest. Rights to all activities like hunting, grazing, etc. were banned. Villagers could not take anything even for their own use. The Forest Act of 1878 affected the lives of the villagers in many ways. The daily activity of the villagers, like cutting wood for building houses, hunting, then shifting, cultivating fruits, became illegal. Millions of people suffered as grazing and shifting cultivation were banned. Due to government's ban on shifting cultivation, many people were forcibly displaced from their own homes. Some had to change occupation while others rebelled against the government. Women who used to collect firewood became very worried as they were unable to collect wood. Now, I will tell you about our next point, that is the concept of rebellion, uprising, and revolution. Rebellion refers to the movement made by masses demanding a change in the existing rules and laws. A rebellion can be both long-term or short-term in nature. If the rebellion is successful, the existing laws and orders can be changed. And if the rebellion is not successful, then also change is possible as a result of its reaction. Now, an uprising refers to the efforts of a group of people to change the government or leader of a country. Uprisings are generally short-term in nature. There is hardly any difference between rebellion and uprising. Revolution, on the other hand, means a quick change in the existing system. A revolution is generally more widespread in nature than a rebellion or an uprising. The protest of the tribals against the forest laws cannot be termed as revolution because of the simple fact that it did not aim at bringing about any fundamental change in the governance of forest. Now, I will tell you about the Rangpur Revolt. The Rangpur Revolt was basically a protest of the peasants of Rangpur against the operations of the Ijaradar. The land settlement introduced by the English East India Company after 1765 caused immense sufferings to the ryots of Bengal. Devi Singh, the Ijaradar of revenue of Rangpur and Dinajpur, imposed high taxes on the ryots. He forced the ryots to pay land revenue at an increased rate. Both the zamindars and peasants were oppressed. In 1783, Hindu and Muslim peasants revolted against Devi Singh. The uprising rapidly spread to Dinajpur and Coach Bihar. Dirji Narayan was declared the leader by the rebellious peasants. The rebels drove out all the officials of Devi Singh. The rebellion was, however, mercilessly suppressed by the British. The company now began to think of introducing a new type of land revenue collection. Though the Rangpur revolt was a failure in the immediate sense, in the long run the movement imparted a lesson to the future peasant rebels. The revolt exposed the nature of company's operation in front of the peasants. It impelled the British to make fresh experiments with revenue collection, which ultimately resulted in the introduction of the permanent settlement of 1793.